Hey guys, Jen Graves here with the Otakuology podcast, where we like to cover manga, movies, games, comics, and more, and all the stuff that both Mike and I enjoy. So, as I said, I'm Jen Graves, and I hope that you enjoy this podcast. So, I'm starting another one that is a side series just for me, because another passion of mine are cartoons. I really enjoy watching cartoons. So I'm going to actually be starting kind of a Jin's review thing. If you check out anything else, Mike has Mike's Minis that you can watch as well off of comics that Mike enjoys. So anyway, this first show is going to be dedicated to a show that I actually like and enjoyed, and it took me forever to actually get into it, which will probably be a story for later. But I'm doing a review over the first episode of Gravity Falls, Season 1, Episode 1. So here we go. So this episode is actually called Tourist Trapped. It's the very first episode, or pilot episode of the entire series. And basically Gravity Falls is about these twin siblings, Mabel and Dipper, and their last name is Pines, which is always funny whenever you kind of see different things in it. And they actually get sent to go live in this place called the Mystery Shack, which is kind of one of those sideshow attractions, or like in old movies where you see a circus and they go, look at the half goat boy, or something like that. That's what it really seems like. They have a mummified mermaid and some other stuff there. A lot of it's just comical stuff based off of that. So Gravity Falls, where the town where all this takes place, is actually in Oregon. It's just one of those fictional places. But they went to go live with Grunkle Stan, which is their grandmother's uncle, or their grandmother's brother. That's why his name is Grunkle. And so he's got two employees there with him that are Seuss, which is kind of a big nerdy guy. I feel like Mike relates to him a lot if you watch it. And we also have Wendy, which is kind of like the Tom boy type girl that basically sits there and tries to be cool and get off early when she can and stuff like that. So anyway, in this first episode, we kind of start out with them doing the ending first, letting us know about that, which is Mabel and Dipper in a golf cart running from this creature that we're not exactly sure what it is. So we actually find that out later on because it goes back. We get kind of all this information that I already told you and everything. And we get into, basically, we find out that Mabel is boy crazy. Her goal for the summer is to find a boyfriend. That's what she's trying to do. So she tries to go and do this, to no avail. I really find it funny. There was one part in this where she handed a boy a note, and it said kind of the yes, no, maybe kind of thing. And it said, yes, absolutely, positively, or something like that, where basically there wasn't an option for him to get out of it. And I think he just threw the letter away. So I actually thought that was probably a pretty funny thing, especially because most of us have been through that in high school, where you've written one of those love notes or a do you like me note and tried to figure out somewhere where the person couldn't say no. So I felt like that was really relatable. Well, anyway, at some point she actually finds this guy that kind of looks like a gothy kid. He's got branches sticking out of his head and all this other stuff, a lot of weird things surrounding it. And the person is trying to figure out what they're exactly going to do and they rattle off their name because somebody asked them, and they said their name is Normal Man, which was another play on words, because then Mabel goes, their name's just Norman. That's it. That we later find out to be a different set of creatures. So while she is getting this boyfriend, though, we have Dipper go out in woods. Grunkle Stan asked him, basically, will you hang up these signs out in the woods to get people to come to the Mystery Shack? Like come and see or whatever. Everything's at the Mystery Shack. That's why it's basically surrounded by mystery. So a lot of good stuff with that. But as he's trying to go around and hang these signs up in trees, he ends up hitting one, and we get a clink clink kind of thing to it. Then you find out that it's actually a metal tree. He finds it kind of has a cover board. He pulls that off, and there is this little like old antique radio in there. He starts fiddling with it, and behind him on the ground, the earth kind of opens up to reveal this little storage area that this book is in. And that's where he finds the number 3 journal, which is this kind of brown journal that has a yellow hand with 6 fingers on it, and has the number 3 written in the palm of it, which comes into play basically the whole series, which we find out later on and everything else like that. So then we get back to Dipper actually getting to meet this Norman character, and Dipper reading through the book or whatever automatically thinks that this guy is actually like a zombie, come back to life, and that Mabel is probably going to get eaten at some point. So we get a little spoiler there, which I found it because this is actually my second watch through of it. Of when he's flipping over to show Mabel that it could be a zombie, he accidentally goes to the gnome page, which is actually a little bit of foreshadowing. We find that out soon after, that this person goes out and basically proposes to Mabel saying, hey, I'd like to marry you kind of thing, but I have to reveal the secret first. And the guy unzips his jacket to reveal that instead of a zombie like we thought, because of different things that happened, like we saw this little fake hand fall off and all this other stuff, that it is actually true, that it is a group of 5 gnomes that are all standing on each other's shoulders to portray this normal human being. So we get the head gnome, which is Jeff. We see Jeff on and off throughout the series, which is pretty good. And then he names off part of his other friends and stuff. So you have Carson and Steve and Jason, and then you have one that he can't ever remember the name, which is actually probably my favorite gnome out of the whole group of them, which is Smebulok. We get to see Smebulok in the future more. And Smebulok can't talk. He's almost like a Pokemon because all he says is Smebulok. So I really, really like Smebulok because he's just one of those characters that they throw it in for comedic relief, and it's just always funny where he's at. So you find out basically that this isn't anything that's there. You find out that Mabel's dreams are thrash because she really hoped that instead of a zombie or even these gnomes, that Norman was going to turn out to be a vampire, which proved out to not be true. You find out that basically Jeff, being the head gnome, was the one that initiated this, and what they're trying to look for is a queen to be with them, with the gnomes, because she's going to live with them forever and basically be their queen. And that's how things are going to go from there. And seeing this, we probably only think that there's 5 gnomes. Well, later on we find out when Jeff is telling us about it that there's actually 1,000 gnomes in the forest. and that she's going to be the queen to all of them, whatever the hell that means. But we get like a really cool little fight scene where Dipper runs off trying to find Mabel, comes into it right at this part as we find that out. And these 5 gnomes and him end up getting in a fight. And then we find out what's actually inside of a gnome. Dipper throws a punch, hits one of them in the gut, and they bend over to hurl, and out comes rainbows. So kind of another little funny thing for Gravity Falls to put in there that I actually enjoy. So they get in a fight. He's got this golf cart and everything, and he just tells Mabel, get on. They have short legs. They will never catch up to us, Mabel. We'll be able to get back to the Mystery Shack. We don't have to worry about them. So they get into it and start driving away, and you hear Jeff start yelling for the gnomes of the forest, basically that they need to get up and come together, basically. And they all come together, and then it almost turns into like a super robot movie or TV show or whatever, because you have all these gnomes basically like stand on each other's shoulders and almost like lock hands and fuse together to become this gnome super robot. So now we actually are caught up to what the beginning of the storyline or of the episode actually was, where they're running from this creature we don't know. It turns out that it's just a bunch of gnomes locking arms and chasing after these people. And it's kind of funny how they basically have a lot of the stuff whenever the thing throws its hand out. You know, gnomes shoot out like little missiles and land on top of the cart trying to get Dipper and Mabel basically to stop so that they can catch them. They get back to the Mystery Shack and this thing's still trying to get them. Mabel comes up with a great idea and says, you know, Jeff, I'll take you up on your offer. I'll marry you. Not to worry about it or anything like that. Jeff gets down and pulls out the ring and puts it on her finger, and she turns around and tells him, well, before we can actually seal the deal on this, we have to kiss and everything. Where Mabel basically pulls out a leaf blower, half sucking him into it, and really, really like powering up the motor by putting it in reverse and getting him kind of more and more sucked down into this thing before both her and Dipper pull the switch on it and fire Jeff off into the sunset virtually, which would be a great Team Rocket blasting off again spot right there. And without Jeff, none of these other gnomes know how to be a leader or anything, which is pretty funny in that aspect because it's like there's so many of you. How is there only one that knows how to do anything? So that's kind of the end of that right there, of that fight and everything. The gnomes disband and go back into the forest trying to hide and everything, which we also get our first appearance of Blendon. That's another character for another episode, but I will let you guys know when we see him in episodes because he's in the background, which will all pertain to a single episode in the future. So we had our first appearance of Blendon. Like I said, not important as of right now for y'all to know that, but when we get to that show, you'll be glad that I let you know this. So we finally have Mabel and Dipper go back in, seeing Grunkle-Stan, and it's older, or it's later, all this other stuff, and he can tell that they're both down. Dipper lost this brown hat that he had, and this is where we get his iconic hat because Grunkle-Stan said, I overstocked merchandise, basically because the kids were sad, and he goes, you guys pick out whatever you want. Which these items are now things that you will see off and on kind of throughout the series, especially Dipper's hat. It's a kind of white and blue trucker hat with a blue pine tree on it. And he wears this from this point forward. Like you'll always see him wearing the hat when you watch the show. And Mabel picks out a thing that we will see off and on, not as much as the blue hat, but Mabel picks out a a grappling hook. And that is another thing that we actually see come into play here and there in future Gravity Fall episodes, which is really funny. But overall, this episode I think was stupendous. I really liked it as a pilot. I actually, this was the only part I had a friend try and get me into this. And I had seen this one episode maybe like 3 or 4 times before actually sitting down and actually watching it. Because I just watched it like the beginning of 2020. Never seen it before until now. Or until then. And it was really good. It was one of those that I could see why there was such a big hype and nostalgia around it. So, really, really glad to have seen that. And I hope that you guys will continue to watch this. And let me know what you think. If you have any ideas about it, anything else like that. Since we're starting out, I can't really give you any fan theories or anything else on it just yet. But the last little tidbit that I do have here is at the end of this episode, we do see Grunkle Stan back into the shop, puts in some kind of secret code into the vending machine, where the vending machine actually detaches from the wall and moves out, and there's a door behind it that Grunkle Stan goes into and closes the vending machine behind him, and it powers off again. So that's a little secret hint for our next episode. Maybe we will get closer and closer to knowing what that is, which we will, and having fun with it. So I hope you'll check out Gravity Falls if you haven't. It's a great show. Like I said, I highly enjoy it, and hopefully we can get into a few other things that are out there that I can actually tell y'all about it and how enjoyable it is. So anyway, I will catch you guys later. Thanks for listening. And remember, as always on the Otakuology podcast, we'll see you next Tuesday.